Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. And as always, please like, subscribe and share this with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, even an enemy. I don't care. I respect all the views. I respect all the subscribers. Thank you very much for the recent ones that have come onto the channel. Big up to Ade, who gave me a shout out on his platform yesterday. I wasn't on 350 at the time. I was significantly higher than that, but there has been a few increases since then. So I do appreciate the shout out. And yeah, I'm still here if you need me for the watch along this weekend. Now, I wasn't planning on doing an episode today, but after the press conference that took place, I'm sure if you guys saw the short, you know what I'm talking about. I felt it was only right for me to give my quote-unquote immediate reaction to it, and there's one or two other little bits and pieces that are worth a talking point as well. So I'm gonna jump into that quickly. Without further ado, let's get into the minor before we get to the major. So if rumors are to be believed, then Fulton and Naoya Inoue are scheduling a potential 122 bout unification. And technically it's not a unification, it's Inoue challenging the unified champion Fulton, moving up using his WBO super champion status to get the immediate match against Fulton. Now Fulton was supposed to be going up to fight Daniel Roman at 126 for interim WBC belt, but apparently due to backlash from fans that may now no longer be the case. Now look, I'm very harsh and critical on the PBC at the best of times. I mean, I'm not the only one who notices the practices and sees how they move and the length of time they take to get fights sorted, or the way that they seem to block fights and only want to do in-house stuff, which look, every promoter wants to do in-house if they can, but they seem to be the only ones really against working with other promoters. That being said, I don't know how much involvement Al Heyman and PBC may have had in the hands of these negotiations. By all intents and purposes, it looks as if Fulton has actually gone behind the scenes in the DMs almost and spoken to Naoya Inoue directly, obviously probably through Google Translate or something like that, about getting a fight on at some point. And if that is the case, I will happily eat humble pie and admit I was wrong on this particular one. I didn't believe this fight was going to happen any way, shape or form, but it may very well be doing so. So watch this space, let's see exactly what happens. But yeah, I reserve judgment, but I will happily again admit I was wrong if this actually does take place and they do end up fighting. And I will also give Fulton full credit of not essentially ducking the smoke, but yeah, we'll wait and see and just see how things develop with that. Oh, also a little quick one before I move on to the main stuff. So Oscar De La Hoya he went on to Twitter with Ryan Garcia, basically said that he had received a contract from PBC and Showtime for the Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. First things first, I just want to let you guys know what he showed in that picture was not a contract. That was in actual fact what's known as a terms sheet. So that was literally just, these are list of terms that we have for the fight. Sort of, do you agree? Send us your notes, send us your points, and like we will review. And then once you kind of fully agree a term sheet, then a contract is drafted up, and at that point the contract, if there's language in it you don't like, you can send it back with amendments, and then those amendments get sent back with further amendments to the other side, and then you both end up in a point where you are happy between the teams and the lawyers. So yes, what he put up was not a contract, it was a term sheet, which ultimately means that this fight is still not that close to being signed. And again, I've stated on several occasions that this fight is not happening in April. I stand on that. You can clip this video, again, clip the super chat that I put up on Ade's channel a couple of days back, or last week it was. It's not happening. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, correct a little bit of misinformation, a little bit of misdirection from Oscar De La Hoya. Now, the press conference. Let's talk about it. First things first, I'm actually surprised that it's more than one, there's more than one actual bout that seems to have a little bit of spice to it. So, first one you've actually got is Joseph Parker and Jack Massey. Like, there was a little bit of needle, nothing major. It wasn't like, oh, like, you've been talking shit for a while, I'm gonna take you down and blah blah blah. It was like, Jack Massey's like, okay, well, yeah, Joseph Parker, I'm gonna take him late, and he's not gonna be ready for, sort of the back half of the beating. He made a big mistake by picking me, and this, that, and whatever. Joseph Parker was half dismissive, just like, well, he's come up to heavyweight, so I'm gonna welcome him by punching him in his face. So I was like, okay. So, because Joseph, I mean, look, he doesn't really smack talk that well. He is the gentleman. He should probably have that nickname instead of Chris Billum Smith, realistically. But outside of that, you can tell he's trying to get a little bit more of that edge and trying to get some of that into him. But it was interesting enough, and you can tell that at least it will be a scrap for as long as it lasts. I don't think it's going the full distance, but we will go into breakdowns and stuff later on. And when I first saw it, I was like, Jack Massey, that's a bit of a mad one, because that's a cruiserweight coming up. But he really, look, most fighters are delusional, but he really does seem to be delusional about his chances in this fight. So that should at least make the fight entertaining, because he's got a belief that, this is his moment and this is his almost coming out party. So yeah, we might spin back to that comment a bit later on. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm not gonna lie, it was entertaining. The biggest, I think, while we're on the undercard, ultimately, like, it's got to be Chris Kongo and Echo Esserman as like the spiciest fight on the card. And what's I've kind of found it's a bit weird, because like Chris and Echo are not that great at trash talk, but you can tell that they don't like each other. Like, none of them had any witty comebacks. It was kind of just talking over each other, but there was nothing like, there was no sort of witty one-liners or swift comebacks on something that anyone else said. But it was highly entertaining. And I think part of that is because Echo Esserman has got a very unassuming, almost airy voice. So it's like, you don't really take the threat serious, or you don't really believe in what he says. But you know that back in the day when you used to get those really soft-spoken guys, and you always used to think, oh, this guy's an idiot, like he'll get taken apart in school or whatever, and then just one day you randomly, someone found out, it was never me, but someone found out that guy actually had something about him, and he could crack. That's kind of Echo Esserman. He doesn't really do the smack talk that well, but there's something about his voice that is oddly irritating and jarring. So I can probably imagine that was getting under Chris Kongo's skin. So that's how I kind of saw it. And I could imagine, I've been around those kind of people, just got that voice where it's like, no, you're too polite to really be talking how you're talking, but there's just something about your voice is annoying me, and now I just want to do something. And I feel like that's the kind of mindset that Chris Kongo's in. That's definitely, I reckon, the most 50-50 fight on the card as a whole. Out of all of them, yeah, I would definitely say so. Chris is unproven to a degree at that particular, British and Commonwealth level, whereas, Echo, he's got both the belts outright at this point in time, but he has been a bit vulnerable recently. There might be a little bit of slippage, and obviously he's the older guy, being 33, going to be turning 34, whereas I believe Kongo was only recently turned 30, so, he's got time on his side, and he is the taller guy, so he should have the natural advantages in terms of height and reach. But it's yeah, that's definitely going to be an entertaining one. Obviously, you had Richard Riakporhe versus Krzysztof Głowacki. Now that one in itself, you know, there was no particular need or there. You know, Głowacki doesn't speak English, had a translator, so you're not really going to get any spicy nuggets or spicy moments out of that one. But you know, Richard basically said, look, I'm looking to do what the others did but better, and then come towards the end of this year, I want that title shot. And if he wins well and wins in good fashion, then I can definitely see that being the case. More than likely, I reckon it would be him versus Makabu, because Billam Smith keeps calling that Jaya Opetaia. So obviously, if the two of those were to win, then you can have a unification with them, win a fight Lawrence Okoli before he decides to move up to heavyweight, unless he vacates beforehand. We don't know. But it's all speculation at this point. But yeah, the undercard part was interesting. Matty Harris, I think, to me, may have been the unintentional MVP of the undercard, just by he just seemed so out of it, almost like he didn't really know what was going on half the time. Losing his trainer fought, he came with a couple funny one-liners about, yeah, you know, injured twice, ain't been paid in 6 months, so it's good to get back on the card. I thought that was all kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely giving props where it was due in terms of the undercard portion. But the main event. Now look, we've seen the gloves are off. We've seen the what they call it out, that all insults thing, the no days off or behind the ropes or whatever they call it, the 2 parts that they had for that. You know, you've seen Chris on social media with the beef joint, how he's gonna saute the beef joint, he's gonna smack beefy and all that good stuff, you know, season him, and like, so all of that's funny. You don't see Liam Smith doing particular anything else on the social media front, just apart from obviously the picture he posted of him and Chris, where he basically said that, I mean, you say I look 50, you don't look much younger than me in this photo before you went and got your hairline fixed, and you know, just a couple little barbs here and there. But both guys definitely brought it in this press conference. I mean, it was funny. You had Chris saying, oh, you know, well, we did our check weight today and I came in under the weight he is, so you know, I guess no one can really complain about the weight anymore. You know, he doesn't have that as an excuse. So he weighed in more than I did today, which I thought was a nice little smart chess move there to make people not really focus on the fact you're still fighting someone that's coming up from a lower weight class than where you were. And there was just like a lot of those little bits and pieces in there, and then I can't remember what sparked it off, because I was in the gym at the time. But then all of a sudden you just get Liam Smith saying, you keep talking about 60% or these girls, or you wanting this and that. Has anyone in this room ever seen you with a girl before? And he's like, do you have something you want to tell us? And immediately I was thinking, oh, wait a minute, I have to stop my gym session now, because this is interesting. So we're going down that route. And you know, I mean, maybe in a sporting sense you might say, well, it's a fair question, but I mean, full disclosure, I've seen Chris Eubank on a couple of occasions, and on at least one of them I've seen females within his group. Whether that was his woman, someone he was piping, I don't know, but you know, I've seen them around on occasion. But I just thought, oh, okay, that's where we're taking it. So I was waiting for the response, and I remember how it started, because he kept talking about, because he slid into my DMs, and then like, you know, well, you slide into another man's DMs, and Ray goes, and so that's how it started off. So then from there, now we're like, oh, okay. And then it's funny, because at that point I feel like Chris was trying to work out what his response would be, but in then giving the response, he actually decided to take like shots at Tony Bellew, which, to be totally honest, I'm all here for. Like, people know my opinion on Tony Bellew, innit? Like, it's not gonna change at any point. Whether I know him or I don't, I think what I think, and clearly I'm not the only one, because Chris Eubank Jr. said, "Oh, up until now, I thought Tony Bellew was the biggest arsehole coming from Liverpool, but yeah, I guess that's definitely been taken over now. He's like, I'm impressed." And it's almost like you could kind of tell that kind of shook him a bit. He didn't really know how he was going to react to that one. Like it took him off center just a little bit, but he's still talking about obviously the DMs and all that stuff. And then at that point, I feel like, okay, Liam Smith actually is almost like he was having that one just in the locker, like he's been waiting to drop that, because he hasn't said anything throughout the whole rest of the camp, and he's not particularly that quick-witted in a lot of the stuff that he does. But when it came to that, now it's almost like he just had that one. When you have the gun holstered in what's it called, the drawer that they have in the West, the shootout, the standoff, and it's just the gun was just holstered, and he just had that one ready, just knew it was there just for safekeeping. And yeah, he went for it. So then they're both talking about stuff. Callum Sowland decides to get involved and say that the beef's gonna get cooked as well. Like, he got involved in it. Roy Jones Jr. and Joe McNally didn't really say too much, to be fair. They were just talking about a little bit of tactics. Then Liam again, he goes at Chris, but he starts talking about, why don't we talk about your hairline, talk about your beard. Like, I've been great from early. Like, I'm happy with how I look. And Chris is just like, you are very fixated on me as a person, aren't you? Like you're talking about my hair and my beard. Like, I've got a good barber. I could recommend him to you if you want. And barber jokes they're always gonna go off. And at this point, it's just like, you're really keen into my personal life. Like, if you want to be personal, we can get personal. Like asking me, am I gay? But the rumor has it, I've heard on numerous occasions from multiple sources, that you out here cheating on your woman, from time to time. So if I would much rather be gay than be a cheater. And and the thing is, it's like, in this day and age, one of them is accepted and the other one isn't. There may have been a time where you could say neither was acceptable, but in this day and age, no, one of them is very much the stance to be. So, Chris could have fully come out and said, okay, I'm gay for this fight. What now? Is that a problem? Are we gonna have an issue? Is there something you'd like to say to me about that? All of this, like, I feel like he could have maybe played on that a bit more, but I guess coming from the type of environment he's from, not necessarily Brighton, but just, family dynamics and probably some of the friends he had, there's, that's someone questioning your manhood in that type of sense is, you don't really play to that, even in confidence, it's a bit of a taboo subject. So I kind of get that. And then, after all of that back and forth, Sky tried to get it back on track. They weren't having none of it. Anna Woolhouse and Johnny Nelson, and who was the other one up there? I can't remember who the other person was at this point. They was all like, it's appalling behavior. We didn't need to go there. We really apologize. I was just like, look, at this point, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. Like, there was no need for the apologies. Like, there was no need to over apologize, I should say. Like, it was, okay, you make the comments, look, these guys are these guys. If anything, I would have said, we apologize for what you heard. These aren't our faults or whatever. That's the fighters. And then literally just leave it there. That's the fighters. And then let the fighters have to deal with whatever backlash. But yeah, look, in terms of my excitement for the fight, look, I'm not necessarily saying I'm excited for the fight, because it wasn't a fight I asked for, but I am intrigued. I do think it would be a good fight, and I was going to buy the pay-per-view anyway, but this just made it a bit more of a need to purchase. So yes, I will definitely be in all the watch-alongs, and I will be enjoying that with a big tub of popcorn and maybe a water, because I need to get back into training to lose some weight for holiday seasons coming up, you know. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I just had to sort of come in here and speak about it real quick. So thank you very much. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you kind of thought of the press conference, and yeah, we'll chop it up. Basis picks will be out tomorrow at some point, probably early, because the weigh-ins will be early, so you get it by about 4:30, 5 o'clock. But yeah, without further ado, that's the end of that. Again, like and subscribe and share with a friend and whoever else. I appreciate it. Hardcore Casual out.